blend and chinois. So here we have our remaining broth, and here's all the vegetables that are left. You can put them in your compost. In my case, these are going to the chickens. Happy chickens. And this is my beautiful broth left over. We probably use a little bit of it to thin out the soup potentially, or just freeze it, save it for another recipe. So this is a chinois, which is really just a fancy strainer. You can use any strainer you have, but this is a nice fine one, and it comes with a wooden stick, so you just turn it in circles, and it pushes your soup through, removing some of the fibers that are just less pleasurable in your mouth. You really don't have to do it, but I prefer to. It really makes the soup, the texture just wonderful. So I go ahead and put my chinois inside a nice tall pot. And the soup is looking beautiful. Everything looks cooked just right. So I will begin ladling it over to the Vitamixer, which is a very fancy blender. Any blender will work. But a blender, a Vitamixer will do the absolute best job of it. For using a weaker blender, I would suggest probably putting less soup in at once for the blendings. Just give the blades a little bit less work to do. There's some other commercial blenders which are adequate. There's I think the Ninja Professional is a pretty decent one for like $110. A few companies make ones around $200, which will definitely do a wonderful job. But a Vitamixer is really a lifetime investment. So I'm going to go ahead and blend the soup. And just go ahead and leave the blender on as high as you can get it for a couple minutes. Really give it a chance to liquefy everything. Okay, this looks good. Always be careful when you turn off your blender to not leave it on a high setting for when you turn it on next time. I've had soup all over my face a few times. So now I go ahead and pour it all directly into the chinois. Just start stirring it patiently. Very few efforts go unnoticed when it comes to food. If you don't have a chinois, I suggest just a spoon and a strainer, whatever your finest pitch strainer you have is. pushing the soup down, and the fiber all collects in the bottom of the cone. Yeah, we're just about ready here. I like to fill up the blender while I'm working or before I start working on the chinois. So by the time I finish a batch, another batch is ready. Can't really overblend the soup. And those are the fibers on the end of the stick. Go ahead and taste them, they're good. But we're achieving a very silken, wonderful texture. So I'm going to add a little bit of broth now to some of these.
I do dimly perceive that while everything around me is ever changing, ever dying, there is underlying all that change a living power that is changeless, that holds all together, that creates strong and weak. That informing power of strength is God.
Beautiful solid color. Okay, let's get this in the chinois. Fill up another one.
For I can see that in the midst of death, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth.
And here we are blending again.
In the midst of darkness, light persists.
So while this was blending, I was over here chinoising away. Don't worry about overblending the soup.
Hence I gather that God is light, truth, light.
back into the chinois again. Another batch, we're almost done. Just get that last little bit in there. Back to my chinois patiently. It reminds me how in some cultures, recipes can be tributes to gods or goddesses. And that's how they attribute the amount of time it takes to complete the recipe. I like to think that it's a meditation. Okay, again back to the chinois. And we pour the last little bit of the soup into the blender. I think I'll do it down lower, a little bit less messy. That blending while we prepare the last of the chinois.